younger American Jews who I think would be much more drawn to a vision of being pro-Israel that says we support the principles of Israel's Declaration of Independence, and that at times might mean we have to be in opposition to the policies of the Israeli government.
Now, this actually, what you're describing here, this started out or got more strength since 9/11, or this was actually much before?
It starts
It reflects the behavior of the Israelis against the Palestinians in this struggle? Or?
It's even deeper than that. You have to go back to the question of how American Jews became Zionists in the first place. In the first half of the 20th century, Zionism was very controversial in the United States. What made American Jews Zionists was the Holocaust and America not opening its doors. So the fact that there was a need for a Jewish state as refuge, that experience of seeing Jews persecuted and coming to Israel as refuge, also was my experience. I grew up with the Soviet Jewry movement, Ethiopian Jews coming. It resonates for me. But the thing you have to understand about younger American Jews is they have never seen any large-scale group of Jews around the world come to Israel in distress. And so the very notion of Zionism, the rationale, doesn't make sense as naturally for them.
Netanyahu didn't call. Had he called, or had he was he sitting here in the studio, what would you warn him from? What is going so wrong?
I think what's going wrong is that the founders of Israel made a bet, and their bet was to tie Jewish sovereignty to democracy, to tie democracy to the Zionist enterprise. If those things diverge with permanent control over millions of people who lack democratic rights, I think ultimately the world and the Palestinians will get behind the idea of one, what they will call secular binational state. I think it would be a civil war, but they'll call it a secular binational state, and Zionism will lose. This is not an original argument. You've heard it a million times.
Yep.
But I can see it, even in the United States, which is the most pro-Israel of all the major countries. You can see this is the trajectory if you know how to look carefully.
Yeah, but when you talk about this, even that, it works very well in theory. I mean, when you say it, it's very convincing. But then let us look at the realities. And the question is, when you are dealing with your criticism,
yes,
are you really looking at the realities? Because this Palestinian entity,
yes,
for instance, is divided. It's
yes,
not unique.
Yes.
You have Hamas, we have
yes,
Jihad,
yes,
we have Al-Qaeda maybe here on the borders
yes,
in Syria and
yes,
all that. You have all this, but you ignore the fact that we're not talking about an entity, you know, that is came from the moon.
No, I don't think so. I think in my book, actually, I'm very critical of Arafat, and also talk at all about the rockets and the other. I've written myself about the terrible human rights abuses in Gaza and about the way the American left doesn't talk enough about them. But for me, the question is this. Israel and Israel supporters, of whom I consider myself one, have control over some things. The things we have control over, we must do right. What Israel must do is it must strengthen those people among the Palestinians and in the larger Arab world who are willing to live at peace. Not because they love Israel, but because they don't want to die fighting Israel. And right now, I feel like many of Israel's policies are strengthening Hamas because you have leaders like Salam Fayyad and Mahmoud Abbas, and you're giving them nothing. You're subsidizing settlements, which is the best thing that ever happened to Hamas.
I want to ask you about, you had an important article arguing that the president in his second term is going to vouch for benign neglect of Israel, basically, and of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And you basically said, you know, he's going to allow this tide against Israel to pressure its leaders. He's going to pull back. He's not going to nominate an envoy. He's not going to present a plan.
And then he came.
And then you know, the first visit was to
yes,
Israel.
Yes.
He came with a plan.
Yes.
You know, he nominated Kerry. He's
yes,
been here twice.
Yes.
So we're not seeing benign neglect at all.
Yes. Well, there is always...
I'm not just... It's not a catch-you
No.
thing.
Look, it would not be the first time...
not?
It would not be the first time that I've been wrong about something. Although I do think that one should distinguish between the White House and Kerry. I think that for the White House, it made sense to come here. Now they can't say he's never been here. And maybe they have a little bit of goodwill if they want to use it. But that doesn't mean they want to use it. I think Kerry has a passion passion for this issue. I think, frankly, also it might have been the issue he could take ownership over, because in this administration, the White House controls a lot of things. So the Secretary of State doesn't have always his choice of issues. So I think Kerry is taking this, and I think the White House view is, as far as I can tell, you go, if you achieve something, come and call us.
Yeah,
But I don't think they are willing to risk their own political capital, and like they did in 2009 when they fought over
But
settlement.
you do the separation from Kerry to Obama because of your opinions about Obama. I mean, you consider Obama to be the first Jewish president in the United States.
Yes.
What do you have against him? I mean, and if you are against him, why do you say he's the first Jewish president?
He's the first Jewish president because no other American president had such intimate relationship with Jews throughout his adulthood. You have to understand that Chicago politics, Democratic politics, was basically an alliance between Jews and African Americans. That's how they elected the first African American mayor. And he built his coalition on the same group of people. And he has a very, very deep familiarity and connection to a certain kind of liberal American Jewish culture.
With new elections here in Israel and the results, do you see any hope for change? Some more liberals, sitting in the government, and less extremists are there?
It seems to me, and I'm only an outsider, that Israeli politics is pretending as if the Palestinians don't exist, that people are very excited to talk about the Haredim and to talk about economic issues. I think American Jews can understand that those are exciting and important issues too. They resonate to some degree with us. But I worry that the Palestinians don't cease to exist simply because Israelis decide that they're not interesting. And that the message, if you send the message to Palestinians that we only pay attention to you when you're killing us, that's a very dangerous message to send.
Mr. Peter Bernard, thank you very much for coming to the studio. One day you